Where would video games be without sci-fi? Unfathomably powerful weapons, vibrant new planets, storylines that inspire your imagination. PlayStation 5 is home to some spectacular sci-fi games, and this very list is here to celebrate the best of the best. Big asterisks here though, because this is according to the users over on pushsquare.com. That's right, this list of 30 PS5 games has been compiled by the user ratings over on the PushSquare website. Each game has to have a minimum of 50 ratings on our site and then uses the aggregate to determine its place. So safe to say, there will be a controversy or two here in this ranking. So hello everyone, my name is Aidan, this is PushSquare, and these are the top 30 sci-fi games on PS5. Borderlands 3 kicks off the list with its wacky sci-fi sensibilities. With a vault-obsessed cult ravaging across the planet in hunt of a series of MacGuffin vaults, you embark on a looter-shooter adventure to protect Pandora and defeat the leaders of said cult, the Calypsos. This can be played in co-op with up to 3 other players, where you're constantly on the hunt for new and more powerful weapons. Alan Wake Remastered comes in next, and I'm not gonna lie, I find this one a little funny to describe as fully sci-fi, but sci-fi is described as, and I quote, speculative fiction which typically deals with imaginative and futuristic concepts such as advanced science and technology, space exploration, time travel, parallel universes, and extraterrestrial life. It certainly fits in there somewhere, as famed writer Alan Wake ventures to Bright Falls on a writing retreat, but next thing you know, his wife is missing and he's written a book he can't remember writing that is coming to life. It's kind of like Twilight Zone sci-fi. Arcane Leon took the Groundhog Day premise and applied it to a never-ending assassination attempt. While stuck on an island filled with cultists, Cole must assassinate 8 different targets all within the same day. With different locations and an advancing time mechanic, Deathloop is like a puzzler as you put together all the pieces of this murderous jigsaw. And with the map changing as time advances, you can take different routes at different times, offering up new opportunities. It's not my favourite from Arcane, but it's high quality nonetheless. Now when you ask me about sci-fi, it's a game like Destiny 2 that I think about. You won't find many games with better sci-fi backdrops than those on display here, as you craft up the perfect Guardian builds with what I believe to be best-in-class FPS combat. If you want to invest yourself in a deep sci-fi lore, then this game has it in spades. Genuinely, if you are interested, you should go and check out My Name is Bife. I hope I said that right. He's otherwise known as Lore Daddy. This guy has some excellent and extensive Destiny lore breakdowns. This is a pretty surprising addition to the list, but next up we've got Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge Enhanced Edition. This is a MetaQuest title that finally made its way to PSVR 2 and lets you immerse yourself in some classic Star Wars iconography whilst blasting stormtroopers with your handy sidearm. It all looks lovely thanks to the PSVR 2's OLED panels, allowing you to get up close and personal with some Star Wars memorabilia. Keeping it Star Wars, we now have LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. We all remember the LEGO Star Wars games of old, so this is a nice nostalgia kick for some of us out there, especially considering this game lets you play through events from all 9 of the mainline films. Are you a prequel, sequel, or original fan? Let me know down in the comments below. One of the very best PSVR 2 experiences on this list, Thumper, is a sci-fi rhythm-based spectacle as players speed across trippy Tron-like vistas. It's certainly a peculiar inclusion in the list, but even with the lack of flying cars and cyberpunk cityscapes to explore, Thumper is firmly securing those sci-fi vibes. Also, if you don't have Sony's VR headset, you can still play the game in flat screen. F.I.S.T. Forged in Shadow Torch is a Metroidvania where you control an anthropomorphic rabbit with a giant mechanical fist. Leading an uprising against your robotic oppressors, F.I.S.T. features fun side-scrolling combat with combos and a variety of upgradable skills and discoverable weapons. I haven't heard too much about this game in all honesty, so I was surprised to see it not just here but a fair little bit into this list. Now this is a shockingly low entry in the list in my opinion. No Man's Sky I mean, sure, it had its rocky start, but that was coming up on 9 years ago at this point, and Hello Games still frequently updates this game with enormous new features and quality of life improvements. You will not find as expansive a sci-fi game as No Man's Sky on PS5, as it will literally let you get in your ship, fly out into orbit, zap across the solar system, land down on another alien planet without a single loading screen. It's ridiculous, and to top it all off, it's all playable on PSVR 2. Big mechs fighting big robots. It doesn't really get more sci-fi than that. The latest addition to the Armored Core franchise is all about customizing your loadout with different weapons, different abilities, and also trying to attain that S ranking on each of its missions. It's the sort of game that will put you through the ringer, but it's also easily consumable with short replayable levels. There's also a lore set to this game as well if you really want to know more about those mechs. Coming in at number 20 we have Stray, and I'm sorry, I'm still going to be a little bit salty about this one overtaking No Man's Sky. However, don't let my grumblings put you off Stray, because this is a very contained and very personable experience as a cat separated from its pack? Do cats have packs? Anyway, it's trying to get back to its family, but to do so it must explore robotic shanties deep in an off-kilter sci-fi world. This looks fantastic, and it's a great pick if you're looking for some tailored sci-fi setting. Hulking armour and hordes of Xenos, Space Marine 2 is a gruff, badass, blood-soaked sci-fi experience set within the expansive Warhammer 40k universe. As Lieutenant Titus, you must thwart the incoming invasion, travelling to Gothic cities, forest planets scorched by giant oil refineries, and some weird space places that I would struggle to wrap my head around lore-wise. Yeah, and this has the Warhammer lore, which is about as dense as it comes, so there's plenty of painstaking details for fans of the series sprinkled throughout this solid third-person shooter experience. Number 18. I mean, come on man, Cyberpunk 2077 not even cracking the top half of this list. What has the world come to? Now, through gritted teeth, I'm going to have to explain that Cyberpunk 2077, in my mind, is one of the very best sci-fi games out there. Now, despite its technical misgivings on launch, which we have finally ironed out with years of patches, Cyberpunk 2077's stellar content has always been there from day one. It's got not only some of the best writing in an RPG, but the flow of the branching dialogue has never been more immersive. The Witcher 3 will always have that nostalgic edge for me over 2077 when it comes to CD Projekt Red's work, but I think what it done so well in The Witcher was perfected here in Cyberpunk 2077. Honestly, number 18. Let's just move on with this unhinged list then, and we are now on to Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the much more expansive follow-up to the tale of Cal Kestis. I remember the glory days of the old Star Wars games, so even now it's still endlessly fun swishing around a lightsaber. And I must say, some of the fights in Jedi Survivor are brutal, but in the best kind of way. It's got some killer moments stuffed throughout its campaign too. But despite its improvements, I think, and so do the users over on pushsquare.com apparently, that Fallen Order Survivor's predecessor is actually the better of the two, and it comes in at number 16. This really shocked a lot of people back in the day with its Souls-like leanings, with sort of maze-styled maps, save points similar to Sites of Grace, and dropped currency which you could earn back by hitting the enemy that killed you. While there's plenty of spectacle in Survivor, I just always remember scaling a near ruined AT-AT, and I think Fallen Order finds that balance of cool stuff that's also scratching that nostalgic Star Wars itch just a wee bit better. Oh, also, if you don't know, this did get a PS5 version back in 2021, hence it being viable to even be included in this list. At the halfway point, I think it's important to say sometimes I want meticulously crafted sci-fi worlds to explore, and sometimes I just want to shoot stuff with big guns. It's why I love Destiny so much, and it's certainly why I love Doom Eternal, which comes in at the midpoint of number 15. The speed of this game is truly insane as it springs you across its demonic landscapes with jump pads and grapples on the end of your super shotgun. I'm currently making my way through all of the Doom games, all the way back from 1993 to current day, so I cannot wait to get to Returnal to replay it. You know how I said I found it weird to include Alan Wake as sci-fi? Well, here we are with Control, which is set within the same universe, but this is a bit more firmly within the genre, in my opinion. Stepping into the oldest house, Jessie Faden is looking for her brother after following the breadcrumbs to the elusive Federal Bureau of Control. This shifting setting is truly unforgettable, and the game will reel you in with its plenty of twists and turns and weirdness, fantastic level design and ever-expanding combat, which starts out really simple but ends like you're a freaking superhero. A true surprise for this list, we have Horizon Call of the Mountain coming in at number 13, the PSVR 2 exclusive spin-off to the Horizon series. Now don't get me wrong, if you're looking for a technically magnificent VR experience, then Call of the Mountain is about as good as it comes. It also plays with all of the bells and whistles of the PSVR 2 headset and magically captures the vibrance of the Horizon world. I just didn't think people rated it as highly as the number 13 spot, but there you go. Now here is a sci-fi game I'm glad to see get its dues. Eidos Montreal's Guardians of the Galaxy is almost like a more contained and humorous version of a Mass Effect game, with narrative choices to make, a grand sci-fi world to explore, and a focused central plot to help you fall in love with its rendition of these now iconic characters. I don't think I've spoken to a person yet that doesn't like this game. It's really worth checking out. Stellar Blade has crept its way up to the number 11 spot. I actually do really like this game. I think there's some aspects to it that I'd love to see improved, like just remove the open world stuff if you aren't going to put anything of substance in it. And my god, Adam might be the dullest character in the existence of video games. Every time this guy opened his mouth, I wanted to fall asleep. However, the whole experience has that PS3 era charm about it, with grand sci-fi premises, spectacular action sequences, and some genuinely great boss fights. Cracking the top 10, Death Stranding is one of the most unique sci-fi universes in this list, spurring you across that typical Kojima lore set of some really big ideas mixed in with dashes of zaniness and even wacky humour at times. At its heart though, it's a game that tasks you with traversing barren terrain to deliver packages where every river, cliff and hill is a genuine obstacle that you need to consider. And then there's the killer other dimensional BTs that you have to sneak past in rain that rapidly ages everything it touches. Hard to explain in a paragraph, but one you're unlikely to forget if you try it out. The star of 2024, Helldivers 2 takes the satirical tone of Starship Troopers and whips it up into an explosive co-op experience, which I genuinely think could be the best fun that you can have with friends on PS5. Dropping into hostile alien planets, you are blasting your way through aliens, bugs, and robots in the hope of spreading democracy. But playing as mushy humans and with the game's ragdoll physics, everything always goes horribly awry, which is part of the Helldivers 2 magic. For the true sci-fi lovers out there, it also has some great looking alien vistas. Completing the Remedyverse trilogy, we have Alan Wake 2, a genuine masterpiece in my eyes and one of the most confidently directed games that I have ever played. This one is bigger and weirder and a little bit more closely tied to Control, especially if you dig into its DLC, where players must piece together a murder mystery across two different protagonists as one embarks on a more traditional survival horror and the other a mind-bending world of darkness. A PS1 classic reborn, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade has some iconic pillars of the sci-fi genre. Greedy mega corporations putting profits before its people and a mega city in the form of Midgar. I love how this sort of blends the sensibilities of the series with more fantastical elements and then its stark sci-fi aspects. It's a tantalizing world that the game shows you just enough of to reel you in. Now, along with Cyberpunk 2077, I think Returnal should be all the way up to the top of this list, but alas, I'll have to settle for number 6. Housemarque's kaleidoscopic roguelike might have some of the best bullet hell gameplay you'll ever experience, but on top of just being a lot of fun, it's wrapped up in a mysterious narrative surrounding astronaut Celine Vassos as she crash lands on the haunting planet of Atropos. Music, gameplay, story, visuals, everything in Returnal is an example of a developer at the peak of its craft. The iconic PlayStation duo Ratchet and Clank go multiversal with their latest adventure, Rift Apart. This is a long-standing franchise for PlayStation, of course, and sometimes you think it's been about everywhere that it can go. But Insomniac Games ramped up the technical impressiveness of Rift Apart to deliver a gorgeously vibrant experience that I think finally captures the art style that Insomniac has been going for decades at this point. It's genuinely a wonder to look at, more so when it starts playing with teleportation and universe switching, but this is a blast of sci-fi goodness for all ages. Number 4, the sequel to Final Fantasy VII Remake, Rebirth, is the second part in this proposed trilogy, and interestingly it veers on the fantastical elements a bit more than its predecessor. We've ditched Midgar, but now you're starting to learn about the Ancients, which I don't want to spoil too much for anyone that hasn't played, but it's pretty sci-fi if you ask me. Some complaints with this game do call it a bit bloated, but when you lock in for its story, it's got some truly great cinematic chops. Horizon Forbidden West takes the number 3 spot with probably the most meticulously crafted open world next to Cyberpunk 2077, but this is a vastly different vibe. With lush forests, expansive deserts and gorgeous beaches, the open world is so far improved from its predecessor, Zero Dawn. I think this also has one of the most bonkers sci-fi storyline out of the lot, which is kind of saying something when you have games like Stellar Blade Control and Alan Wake 2 here. Man, when I tell you that I was over the moon to find out that Dead Space was taking the number 2 spot, I really mean it. This is genuinely one of my all-time favourite games. I played Dead Space 2 and 3 back in the day on launch, but the original slipped me by, so this remake was the perfect opportunity to see what I missed out on. With impeccably dark visuals, top-of-the-line sound design, and horrific necromorphs chasing you down, Dead Space captures the essence of a great setting with the USG Ishimura, sort of like Alien with the Nostromo. It's not for the faint-hearted, but this is sci-fi to me. Okay, so let me just quickly remind you that this list was made up by user ratings over on the Push Square website, so this number 1 is a fantastic game, but certainly not what I thought would head up this list. Okay, big breaths now, because Astrobot takes our number 1 spot on the best PS5 sci-fi games list. Now, initial reaction to this is that Astrobot isn't sci-fi like the others, which I totally get, but here we have a game with a spaceship PS5, an alien in an actual saucer, you're travelling to different planets, and you play as a freaking robot. That's pretty sci-fi if you ask me. But jokes aside, Astrobot, which was our 2024 Game of the Year winner, is a delightful platformer and a true celebration of all things PlayStation, with homages, levels inspired by popular franchises, actual characters showing up in body form, to the point that the ending of this game almost brought a gaming tear of joy to my eye. We give it a 10 out of 10, which is all you really need to know. So there we have it, one of the most unhinged lists in Push Square history. A couple of surprise additions in there and some true omissions as well. Head down to the comments below to let me know your thoughts on this ranking. Let me know your biggest shocks, what you would have had at the number 1 spot yourself. What do you think of Astrobot taking the number 1 spot? But anyway, while you're down there, do remember to leave a like on the video, and even better, subscribe to the channel for more PlayStation video content just like this. Thank you as always for watching, and until next time, I've been Aiden, and this has been Push Square.